That person is you. How is the world faring? Not too well, I'm afraid. So many studies as to how people operate under pressure. So many studies of populations faring under threat. So many studies on post-traumatic stress disorder. One might have thought that the summaries, conclusions, inferences, and observations might have yielded effective coping strategies and some wise, informed responses. Have they? Look around the world today and the answer is absolutely not. Why? Knowing the answers and acting on them are two distinct processes, but ones that should have fused and naturally flowed together. But that couplet is currently dislocated. There is a huge gap between academia and administration, between information and politics, between responsibility and power. I'm sad to admit this, but I no longer trust government. I don't trust politicians' motivations, abilities, and preparedness. I don't trust people in power to do what's good for the people, as opposed to what is good for themselves. I don't trust the standards of care in policing. I don't trust the media's objectivity and honesty. I don't trust the marketplace to work for the good of the people. I don't trust commercial interests to serve anyone other than their shareholders and themselves. I'm sad to say this, but I have lost trust. And I know that trust lies at the coalface of society's moral survival. I watch the images of angry, brainwashed, exploited individuals, nearly always from the economically deprived sector of society, being led on by rightist manipulators in the guise of pretenders to democracy, expressing their brainwashed disappointment in a violent antisocial manner, fascist, acting out their frustrations through wanton destruction. I also watch young idealists in their puritanical adhesion to the leftist ideologies, fresh out of an arts college, believing that their nuanced, limited identity studies have armed them with answers to life's inequities, and thus proceed to march on the streets propelled by a shimmer of their false ideal, cancelling any opposing views to boot. So much for their democratic ideals. Yet, I am optimistic. I have noted how time and time again the world has pulled back from the abyss and normalized. I have noted how extremism has reared its ugly head and been decapitated. I've seen how in times of crisis a good person arises and leads people to their promised lands. And I know this will occur again. What I don't know is how much damage will take place before normalcy is restored. But for a wise leader to arise, there needs to be abolition of money and power as stepping stones to leadership. That alone would require a radical restructuring of the system for national candidature, and would also mean that discipline has to be applied for media, which must cease to be politically aligned and become a community service overseen by legislation to ensure its integrity as the fourth estate, with a single function: to inform, not opine. Strong legislation will be needed to be enacted to ensure that there be equal distribution of candidature exposure. The people must not be puppets at the end of a puppeteering strings pulled at high echelons by big business, powerful lobbies, and wealth. We're reaching that stage of history where the basics of morality have to be reinstituted, where common decency and values of brotherhood must be restored, where the innate nature of goodness that characterizes all human beings is given